This is All India Radio in the program Spotlight. Now, we bring you a discussion on role of zonal councils in cooperative federalism. The participants are Sandeep Phukan, political analyst, and Chetan Chauhan, journalist.
Today, we are discussing the zonal council meeting which Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah held in Bhopal with the states involved in the left-wing extremism issues. We have with us Mr. Sandeep Phukan. Sandeep, this is not the first zonal council meeting which the Home Minister has held. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's meeting, I just wanted to get an overview of how in the last 8 years, the central government, the Home Ministry, has held these zonal council meetings and the standing committee meetings to have sort of a cooperative federalism in the policy making.
Well, thank you, Chetan. To give you overall perspective, these are actually very important meetings. As the name suggests, these are interstate zonal council meetings where several states come, and often that these meetings are used as a platform to arrive at a solution where if a solution is sort of eluding two neighboring states over a variety of reasons, the center can sort of play the arbitrator, and through a little bit of give and take, it can arrive at a solution which is a win-win for all the states involved. For example, just to give you some data, you asked me about in the past 8 years, how many meetings or the kind of success that these zonal meetings have had. So some data that I had, so until last June, for example, the last June was the Western Zone meeting that took place. So overall, nearly 18 meetings of various zonal councils have taken place, and about 24 that before zonal meeting takes place, before the states involved, the chief ministers and the home minister meet, they are preceded by meetings of what is called as the standing committee, whereby they actually fix the agenda. What are the issues that they are going to raise in these meetings, so that everyone is prepared and something may come up impromptu, but officially they are supposed to have an agenda, and that agenda is set by the standing committees. So in the past 8 years, there have been 18 meetings of various zonal councils until last June. So taken today's meeting, that would go up to 19 meetings of zonal councils, and about 25 standing committee meetings have been held. And to give you an example, if you just look at the Western Regional Council, 30 topics were discussed and nearly 27 were resolved. So that is the importance of this meeting. That is what I was trying to tell you, that often states may have different points of view, but when a third party, the central government, is involved, and where the center can play the arbitrator, through a process of give and take, they can arrive at a solution. So according to the data available in the Western Zonal Council, for example, 30 topics have been discussed, 27 have been resolved, 3 remain to be resolved, they are under discussion. So that is why it is very, very important to have these zonal meetings. It also strengthens the idea of cooperative federalism between center and states.
So to give you more examples of this, like recently there was a zonal council meeting involving Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, where there were a number of pending issues when Uttarakhand was carved out of Uttar Pradesh. Most of the issues were resolved through the zonal council meeting, and similarly issues between Jharkhand and Bihar also, which Jharkhand was carved out in 2000, especially on the sharing of assets. Most of the issues were discussed in the zonal council meeting, and there was consensus that they were sorted out. Similarly, I would like to ask you about the Northeast, where the boundary disputes has been a major issue for the last many decades, and how the zonal council meetings have helped in resolving these issues.
Northeast has its what we call as the Northeast Council, and the Department of Northeastern Region, which is a ministry in itself, so donor ministry and the Home Ministry, they coordinate. And it is very important. There was a very volatile situation involving a boundary dispute between Mizoram and Assam, and police forces of these two states opened fire on each other, and there were several casualties. So that is where such a zonal council really comes in. That was, of course, a one-off incident, but that is where the Home Ministry, the zonal council, they come in, and that matter was taken up, and several other border disputes between Assam and Meghalaya, Assam and Nagaland, Assam and Mizoram, many other disputes that were there, they have been taken up for discussion, and there have been also now agreements. For example, recently Assam government signed an agreement with Meghalaya government over its long pending boundary issues to resolve long pending boundary issues. Similar agreements have been signed. They are also being discussed at the level of the Zonal Council and the Home Ministry with Mizoram. So these are complicated and issues, and as you know, Chetan, that most of the northeastern states have been carved out of undivided Assam, and there are legacy issues. It cannot be resolved overnight. But as I said, that the zonal councils actually provide the platform where states come and they can discuss with a free mind, and the center can play the neutral arbitrator because they do not have stakes. They would like the states to resolve the dispute amicably without any bitterness. And that is the role that the center would like to play without getting into the nitty-gritties of every state. They would like to hammer out a solution that is acceptable to both states. And that is the role that these zonal councils would play.
Sandeep, yes, I totally agree with you. Like in Northeast, there has been a lot of progress on Meghalaya where the agreement has been signed. Similarly, in Arunachal Pradesh, also today, as we speak, the chief secretaries held a meeting on resolving the boundary issues. The chief ministers have also held. Mizoram
they were preceded. In fact, today's meeting of chief secretaries were preceded by the meetings of the chief ministers.
So, there has been a lot of resolution on that. Similarly, like Eastern Council meeting, which was of Odisha, Bengal, many of the issues of the two states and also the state-specific issues were discussed and resolved. And it is not only the disputes between the states, the zonal committees sort out, they also give a push to the infrastructure projects and the problems the state governments may be facing from specific departments, ministries in the central government. Such issues are also resolved in the zonal council meeting specifically for like increasing the banking network in rural areas, expanding the India Post banking network, which has happened through the zonal council meetings in specific areas in Chhattisgarh, in Odisha, in West Bengal, in Bihar also. And one of the major issues which the zonal council has really worked on is improving the mobile internet connectivity in the rural areas and improving the optical fiber network. So it doesn't come within the ambit of Home Ministry, but they have really worked on this front in many states because it has been an issue for almost all the zonal council meetings. Another area of improving the banking sector is the cash deposits through CSCs, on which zonal councils have resolved many of the teething issues. Also, one program of the central government, which is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, many of the states have faced some sort of a problem on that, especially Chhattisgarh and others. So, through the zonal council meetings, attempt has been made to resolve many of these issues. So, in today's meeting also, it was LW district. Some specific issues were discussed and some issues were resolved also, especially on the mobile interconnectivity, on the tribal development fund. Can you throw some light on the today's meeting also?
This was the central zonal meeting. There were issues related to, tribal welfare. There were issues related to, for example, among the states involved today included Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand. This is the central zone, and two of the chief ministers had to join in virtually. Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Mr. Bhupesh Baghel and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, because of heavy rains, they could not join. Of course, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami was in person. He joined the meeting he had already arrived in Bhopal on Sunday, and of course, along with Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Home Minister Amit Shah. So they were present. And as I said, some of the issues that involved tribal welfare related, as you said, Naxalism, the left-wing extremism districts, that fall, especially in Chhattisgarh, development in these areas. So these were the issues. There were issues about financial inclusion. One of the issues that was raised, for example, by Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh, of course, is a Congress-ruled state, the only opposition-ruled state in this zone. So Mr. Baghel had raised the issue of reverting back to old pension scheme. As you know, Chetan, that the Congress-ruled state has reverted back to old pension scheme, and they believe that some financial amount is pending, which they want the center to sort of help them get that. So that issue was also raised. Certain local crops that need to be given higher and a fixed minimum support price and a higher purchase price. That was also raised by Mr. Baghel, and we have been told through a press statement by the Chhattisgarh government that the center has principally agreed to look into the demand of increasing MSP on certain local crops in the area. So these were some of the issues that came up in the meeting.
Apart from that, there were also some issues on the development in tribal areas, especially in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, improving the road connectivity. So Centre has assured that they will look into these issues, and also Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand government has brought up the issue of interstate connectivity, improving the connectivity between two states, a better sharing of intelligence between the two states. So the Home Ministry has said that there should be a mechanism for sharing of information between the two states, because both huge border is between two states and there is a porous border. So apart from that, infrastructure development in the hill state of Uttarakhand was also discussed, and the pending dues from Uttar Pradesh was also discussed. And it was decided that the mechanism will be put in to resolve these issues in the zonal council meeting today. But overall, if you look at in the last 8 years, how the zonal council meetings have performed, so what do you think has been the biggest point of the zonal council meeting, because in which the Home Minister goes to a specific state where the Chief Ministers come and discuss it, rather than an earlier system of where the Chief Minister used to be summoned to Delhi, to Planning Commission, to the NDC meetings, and then the discussion used to happen. It is a more decentralized way of discussing issues with the state.
This has been in keeping with what Prime Minister Narendra Modi had declared right after he had assumed office as Prime Minister in 2014. If you recall that he had said that most of these meetings, why should it be centralized and only in Delhi? States are equal partners in development, and as he referred to it as Team India, that is why I remember that in my home state and hometown of Guwahati and Assam, there was a very high-profile conference of DGPs, now Director General of Police, where chiefs of all police forces from all the states had arrived, and the Prime Minister took the meeting there in the Northeast. So that was, and that sort of set the trend. And since then, many other zonal councils have also been following, where the Home Minister actually goes, they choose a host state, and there other members of that zone, chief ministers of that zone, they also join in. And if you are sort of looking at in terms of statistics, then in the past 8 years, the number of zonal council meetings have gone up almost 3 times. And as I said, that I think the biggest advantage of these platforms is for states to actually resolve the issue and also give, as you rightly said, infrastructure push, especially in the Northeast. I can tell you, whether it is a road connectivity issue, whether it is power projects, the councils really help in terms of giving a push, because many a times it happens that you build a road, but certain road, there is land acquisition problem. And state to state, there is a problem. When the center comes in and when they talk both the states, sometimes, of course, the solution can evade them, but often the solution is found out. I would say the biggest advantage is that when states come together, they work as a team, and that's always good for development.
Sandeep, also because these meetings are happening at a regular basis, so there is also a mechanism to keep a check what has happened in the last minutes are there. And also the standing committee looks into that promises that have been made in the meeting, whether they have been fulfilled, what action has been taken. So action taken reports are also submitted to the zonal council. So the progress part on the interstate relations, interstate issues is also taken into consideration by these zonal committees and the standing committees, and the mechanism as such. While it's a quick and easier resolution of issues, and we have seen like in Northeast and many other states like Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the legacy issues which were pending for more than 2 decades have been sorted out. And it's the new form of the cooperative federalism taking into states, which the Modi government has implemented, which it appears so far that it has really worked well. I'm really thankful to you, Sandeep, for speaking to us on this important issue. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on role of zonal councils in cooperative federalism. The participants were Sandeep Phukan, political analyst, and Chetan Chauhan, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.